theoretically starts the stream.
He's doing hotkeys.
I'm doing hotkeys. So you just gotta let me get through the intro, and then we'll jump into it. I've pulled some Broadway stories for you. So we're gonna talk about some Broadway news, which is gonna be fun. Does it say I'm live? Does not say I'm live.
It says waiting for.
No, it does say that I'm live on Discord.
Oh, there we go. Now it's popped on.
Give it a moment.
Does it say I'm live?
It does say I'm live. Excellent. Okay.
It says I'm live. It says waiting for.
Okay. I can hear me and I can hear you.
Hailey, could you give us some audio?
Is it working or?
Oh, there we go. Give it a moment. Does it say I'm live?
Give it a second.
Live. Excellent. Okay. It says I'm live.
That's so
It says waiting for. Okay. I can hear me and I can hear you. Hailey, could you give us some audio?
That's so trippy.
Is it working or?
Yep, we're good.
Beautiful. Okay. This is the YouTube preamble where we test the settings. Okay, so I just need to pull open my timer. Give me 1 second.
The Spotify listeners don't get this.
The Spotify listeners don't get this. Yeah, I know.
They don't get the joy of all the technical difficulties we go through every time.
Right? Okay, here we go. And 3, 2, 1. This podcast is brought to you by the Arate Podcast Pantheon. Please head to aratemedia.org to see all sorts of podcasts from our great friends. And if you would like to start your own podcast, they could provide you with the tools and resources to do so there. That's aratemedia.org. ARETE media.org. On with the show.
On with the show.
I didn't mess up the intro. That was awesome. So, welcome to the Spur of the Moment podcast, everybody. I am your host, Justin Spurr, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, the incomparable Jordan. And today, we are joined by our friend Hailey from the Part of Your Broadway World podcast. We were going to be joined by Jake, but due to scheduling conflicts, he couldn't be here this week. So he'll come another time and talk about Don Bluth movies or another topic. I'm thinking maybe I'll ask him on in October to come on one of the many Halloween episodes we're probably going to do. I'm thinking maybe 2, but possibly 3.
Welcome back.
Yes, welcome back once again. Today, we're going to begin with some Broadway news, including we're going to talk about the Wicked trailer for a bit. And then I've got some, what is Lin-Manuel Miranda up to next? Gotta open my stories here. Spider-Man, who's directing Spider-Man? I got Venom. I'd like to know if Hailey's gonna watch Agatha all along, because there's some Broadway people in there, and that is interesting. And then later, Hailey is a Disney person, so obviously we're not gonna talk about Disney. We're gonna talk about DreamWorks, we're gonna talk about Blue Sky, and we're gonna talk about Laika. And we're going to play my favorite game of, I don't know whether or not the guest has seen these movies, so we're going to be like, has Hailey seen these movies? It's going to be fun. Stick around. Let's start off with, because I promised Hailey when I did her show last that we talk about the Wicked trailer. Let's talk about the Wicked trailer, because I have questions. First off, my first comment on it is, the last trailer. Did you see the last trailer? Have you been just watching all the trailers?
Yes.
Yes,
I watched
okay.
the trailers as they came out.
Okay, because that last trailer, my first thoughts are just like, this movie knows that the only song people know from Wicked is Defying Gravity. Because it's pretty much all of Defying Gravity. Like, it's the entire... Yeah, see, that's the only reason why I've even heard of Wicked is because I watched Glee, and I saw him sing... I saw Kurt sing it on Glee. That's where I first learned of Wicked.
That's my only...
On my podcast too, you said the exact same thing on my podcast, and I disagreed. That's not the only song people know.
I mean, that's totally fair.
It's certainly the most recognizable.
I mean, I think some executive feels that way because it's the front and centerpiece of, I think, the first trailer was like teasing you got a few bars. This one, it's like most of the song. And hey, she's singing it very well. So you've seen the original Wicked.
I mean, I like that song. So I don't really see that as a bad thing. I don't see that as a bad thing.
Well, for you, Jordan, the funny thing about that song for me is it's the end of the first half song. So you know how every
Okay.
yeah. So it's like if you've seen Book of Mormon, it's basically Man Up. And so if it's the song that people are most like, they know the most, they're gonna get it right as that movie ends. And then the movie's gonna be like big like show-stopping number, movie ends, because this is 2 parts. There's Wicked Part 1. Yeah, and that's a news piece that I have, is that they're moving up the date. So it's the Part 2's coming out, I think, a few months earlier now.
Yep. No, a few days earlier.
Oh, was it only a few days? I thought it was a few months at least.
No, a few days. It was going to come out on the 25th of November.
How long is the gap? 21st. Like, is it like a full year, or is it like only like half a year?
It's like a full year.
Oh, it's a full year. Oh, interesting. So, so for your benefit, Jordan, what is the original musical? Like 2.5 hours? We talked about it on your podcast, but it's like 2.5 hours, right? Ish. Yeah. And then this movie is 2 hours 49 minutes. So the whole musical, it's longer than the length of the whole original musical.
So they basically doubled the length. Then.
So like, how is that possible? I just don't know. We talked about, how is that possible? Like, how much did they have to blow this thing out to push it into 2 parts? And what is the second part going to be? Because the second half of a musical is typically much shorter. So is that going to be like a tight 1.5-hour movie? Like a restrained 1.5-hour movie? I don't understand what they're going to do with that.
Well, my question is like, how is it going to be how is it going to be longer? Because, like you said, it's a short musical. It's not that long.
Right,
and in order for them to have made it longer, they must be adding stuff.
That would be my guess.
In a musical.
Isn't the second... Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. The second half of Wicked is basically like, oh, it's now the Wizard of Oz, but it's from the Wicked Witch's perspective, and the wizard is the bad guy, right? That's basically it. I'm probably being reductive. But yeah, that's basically it. Yeah. So maybe you get more of the Wizard of Oz in it then. Like maybe they've added in like Follow the Yellow Brick Road and Somewhere Over the Rainbow, or like maybe that's it. Because otherwise, you're right. Like how would you? Like that would be like if you took Les Mis, which is like a 3-hour musical, and you took it and made it into 2 3-hour movies. I'd be like, why? Like, even I'm not a major Wicked fan, but even, I mean, I've always been interested in that, seeing that as a movie, because I quite like the song Defying Gravity, and I like the other 2 songs I mentioned that I knew. I'm not so much a fan of Popular, but For Good, I really quite like For Good. That's a good duet. But yeah, I'm just so fascinated. But so the trailer gives me, is it like real Mean Girls? We keep threatening to talk about Mean Girls, but it gives me real Mean Girls vibes. Like, is that the kind of what is that the vibe of the show?
I mean, yes and no. At by the second act, they're like best friends.
Interesting. So I've seen clips of the actual musical, and the Ariana Grande as Glinda, she just seems way meaner. Like they're really pushing at the mean, like to contrast how nice she is later on.
In the musical, she's really mean.
Is she? Okay, because I've seen some clips and she seems way more cutting in this trailer. I'm like, ooh, Ariana Grande is a bit mean. She's a bit mean.
She like has known Kristen Chenoweth, who was the original Glinda in the musical in 2005. So she's been talking to her, and she gave Ariana some tips. So I feel like she's going more towards that Glinda than previous Glinda. Fair.
And when I think of it, I mean, as much as I'm giving it grief for being 2 parts, I kind of prefer that, because I'd much rather that than what ends up happening with a lot of musicals, where they wind up cutting a lot out, and like a lot gets missed in adaptation from stage to film. Whereas this is like, this feels like it might be overindulgent. I don't know.
I mean, it comes across like they might be adding in deleted elements, or elements that didn't make it into the original musical.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, being a person who doesn't know much about it, I'm mostly devil's advocating here. But
yeah,
that's
maybe.
What it sounds like. Sounds like it could be to me.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know, but no. I mean, I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna be there.
My only problem is Peter Dinklage.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's got a little James Corden in there, so I'm like, ooh, I'm a fan. I am a fan of Peter Dinklage, though. like I say, the thing that I liked about it was it felt suitably like epic. Is how I would describe it. Like this is what this needed to feel like. It's giving a very theatrical kind of energy to it in its trailer. And I quite like that. So speaking of Broadway, I know you're one of your favorite Broadway stars, Patti LuPone, blew my mind, is in Agatha all along. So I can't remember you're not really a Marvel person, right?
Mm-mm.
No. So like the fact that you're gonna stomach this for Patti LuPone, that's you know.
I never said I was gonna.
Hey, I mean, I would. I'm a big Patti LuPone fan. That song that they the song that they were singing. I mean, I like it piques my curiosity. Anything that's potentially a musical, I'm always like, you know what? I'll check it out. I'll watch a couple episodes. Why not?
I never said I was going to stomach it. You put words in my mouth. Justin.
I mean, maybe I did. Maybe I inferred.
Maybe we can maybe in a future musical episode we can convince you to watch it and then come rant about it on here.
I mean, I don't even know that I'm gonna. I'm probably not gonna. But so I've pulled you some fun Broadway stories that I'm just gonna go through. So we have a mutual love of Lin-Manuel Miranda, and he is currently.
I appreciate him.
Yeah. He is currently apparently working on a new musical, based on the movie, and I don't know if you're familiar with it. I highly doubt it. The movie and book Warriors. I only really know of it because I played.
Saw that.
Oh, okay. So you did see that, yeah. I'm not super familiar with the Warriors, but I do know that it's like urban street kind of story. And given his experience with In the Heights, and I think that's a good fit for him. I'm just curious as to if it's going to be. I mean, with it being like but it being like gang related, it does feel like the place to do his rap thing. So it makes me wonder if it's going to be like very rap hip hop heavy again. I quite like his stuff. Like I've always said, I wasn't really super into In the Heights, but I love Hamilton. So I will listen to anything he does. But he says he's only doing it as just a concept album right now. He doesn't have any intention of turning it into an actual musical, which is disappointing because that's a real like 80s aesthetic. I think that'd be a fun stage show. But yeah, I'll listen to anything he does. Yeah. Let's see. What do we got next? We got. Oh man, that's not it. Okay, no, never mind. Bear with me while I quickly. So apparently, when you go to watch that Stranger Things Broadway musical that they're doing, apparently they're giving out Netflix subscriptions.
Wait. They're making a Stranger Things Broadway musical?
Not a musical. It's a stage show.
Okay, even still, that's not okay. You're blowing my mind a little bit there.
They did like another one before this new one that's going to come out. It's called like Stranger Things.
Oh really? I didn't know that. So this is the first shadow. So there was one before that?
Yeah.
Really?
Stranger Things is not one that I would have thought of for a stage production.
My thing is just like
kind of blowing my mind.
I'm like,
it's
what?
Like a parody musical.
Really?
Oh,
that's hilarious.
That's funny.
I've heard that this is the first shadow's good. My first thing is like, what is it? 6 hours long? Because it's Stranger Things. But it's a prequel about Vecna. Yeah.
Okay.
And I've heard that there's a pro shot, and it's gonna go to Netflix. I had heard that. Yeah.
Maybe I'll check that out then.
Yeah, and it's because with Netflix and whatnot. But no, apparently it's not bad. It really reminds me of the Harry Potter one, where apparently like the effects are quite good.
I mean, okay, I was gonna say the only good thing about the Harry Potter one is the effects. The story is
not good.
The story is stop.
But and then me and this is news. This is news I included for Jordan because me and Hailey have already talked about this. But they're doing a pro shot for the Frozen musical they're putting on Disney Plus.
Oh, neat.
I know. I was
Frozen.
pretty. She actually told me that.
With Samantha Marks.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is she
was in the Les Mis movie.
Yeah. She played. She's
yeah.
Who is she? She's
Eponine.
Eponine. Yeah, she's Eponine. Yeah. She was a weird casting in that movie because she's the only person who I think actually played her on Broadway. The rest of them didn't. But she did.
Mm-hmm.
She's actually Eponine in the the version that we like, the concert version. She's Eponine in that.
Okay. Yeah. The 20th anniversary, I think that was.
I think so. Yeah. So she's yeah. So she was. So she's also. Oh, that's interesting. That makes me even more inclined. I like Frozen. Look, I like Frozen. I'm not ashamed to say it.
Yeah, I know. Me too. I'm not ashamed to say.
I liked it when I watched it. I still like it now. Do I think Let It Go got severely overplayed for a few years there? Yes, I do.
I think I like it more than I did the movie. The movie is just a little. I wanted to blow my brains out the time that they played it.
I do not disagree. Like when that movie first came out, I worked in a mall, and they had a Christmas concert, right by my store, and it was like every third, fourth song was "Let It Go," often with drums, and it was like by the end of the day, I hated that song for like a solid 2 years, but I really genuinely liked it the first time I heard it, and this is a musical I've seen like clips of it, and it's really well staged. There's a really cool Hailey knows about it, obviously, because you've seen it, right? Like you've seen it live.
Seen what? The Frozen musical?
Yeah, Frozen musical.
I've never seen it.
Oh, okay. Oh, interesting. I've seen
it yet.
I've seen a few performances of Let It Go, and there's a really cool moment which it's one of those, like, it looks okay on film, but I imagine if you're in person, it's probably mind blowing, especially if you're like a kid, like a really little kid. But there's a really cool moment
using her ice powers.
Yeah, well, where she does the quick change, to change out of the old outfit into the new I'm Elsa, I'm sexy. No, that sounds bad. But you know what I mean? Like the I'm empowered outfit.
Yeah. Her blue dress.
Yeah. Where they do a quick change, and it's super quick, and the dress just pulls away, and she's in the new dress. And like I think I saw them do it on The View, and it looked cool. I was like, oh, that's really cool. And it's one of those, like, I imagine, like, in the theater when you're live, and like I say, if you're like 5 or 6 years old,
you're in the theater, you're like halfway back or something, not close, so close that you can see, like, and it just looks like it happens magically. You're a kid, yeah, that would blow your mind,
right?
Absolutely.
Right. So I quite like the Frozen show. It's one of my favorite Disney Broadway musicals. So that's pretty cool. That's going to Disney Plus. Like I said, like I've said to Hailey in the past, more fun. Pro shots, that's not fun. Less. More pro shots, not less. Yeah. Not less pro shots.
I mean, yeah, because it gives people opportunity to see something that they can't. Like, I will probably never be able to actually watch something on Broadway.
Yeah.
So to be able to experience it. Sorry?
I say, well, not just that, but like people that like can't afford it yet can watch it. But then when they can't afford it, they can go see it again.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's
definitely.
It's only gonna bring people like the Broadway more money.
Yeah. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like watching a show on a television screen and watching it in person, it's two entirely separate experiences. You're not paying just to see the show. I think maybe that's what they've kind of reduced it to. They're like, oh, you're paying for the whole experience of it. Yeah. Not just the being in the theater. The energy is completely different. Like I'd seen,
it's so different than being at home.
Yeah. Like when we went to watch Book of Mormon, even though I'm like intimately familiar with that musical, watching it in person, not so much for us because half the stage was blocked because of just how our stage is. But like a good portion of it,
it was still there.
It was still there.
The joy of watching it in person was still a thing.
So it's like that's what you're paying, especially with Broadway. Like that's what you're paying for, right?
Absolutely.
But also Broadway tickets be expensive, yo. Especially with the ones with the famous actors.
Well, I mean, that's not even Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. But I mean, I was gonna say, even during COVID, when Broadway was shut down, like bootlegs kind of saved my life. Like,
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it's how I've seen a lot of plays. Like I saw a good slime tutorial of Dear Evan Hansen. It's how I became familiar with that.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's how I saw Dear Evan Hansen as well.
Be More Chill. That's why I've seen that one. So yeah, bootlegs are like that's how we get to experience it as someone who lives on the west coast of Canada and is broke. Like it's the only way.
Yeah, I mean, because there's not only the cost of the Broadway tickets themselves, but Lord knows I can't afford to fly over there, stay in
Right.
a hotel for the time that I need to, and afford Broadway tickets.
Right. I'm pretty sure Broadway tickets are like.
That's more than
I was gonna say, pretty sure
That's
Broadway
that's
tickets
more
are
than
like.
I can
$1,000.
afford.
Yeah.
just warning you, some of them are $1,000.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought I was gonna
Yeah,
go like 200, but
that's just the tickets, let alone the cost of getting and staying there.
right. Right.
I think the cheapest is like 500.
Okay, yeah, that may, especially if you want good seats, I imagine. Like if you want in a good theater. God, I
So
mean,
yeah, if I can get versions of these on streaming services where I can enjoy them and then be like, okay, yeah, that's the one that I want to spend $1,000 on to go and see in person.
yeah,
It's kind of
exactly.
like a preview.
Yeah, and they're always going to be like the Broadway versions are always different than the version we get here, which is the national tour version, right? They're just always different. I don't want to say better,
Oh
but
yeah.
because they're in a theater for a dedicated amount of time, they can like put in effects and it's just different. Like a tour has to be able to travel, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Their special effects are definitely going to be different, that's for sure.
Because like Spider-Man, for example, the Spider-Man musical, that was in one theater and it was built to be in that theater. So they're like, and that's the whole thing. That's why a lot of Broadway plays want to be minimalist, is because that way they can easily tour it. Like I'm told, like I think it was like a SpongeBob musical.
I imagine that's why the Harry Potter one didn't do too much traveling. What with the using, weren't they using live owls and stuff in their
Yeah,
show?
well, to be fair, there's like two versions of that show, and I think the second version of it cut out the owls. I'm pretty sure, but like
Yeah,
the
I'm not
SpongeBob
sure,
musical, for
but
example, I think was notoriously difficult to tour. Or like, oh, there's one that was, I can't remember which one, but like Phantom is another one, which that the tour version's different. Like when it's in a theater in a residency, there's a big set piece where they drop a chandelier that they just can't do when they tour because it's just logistically
They still
impossible.
do it.
Do they still do
They-
it? I heard that they don't do it.
No, they do it.
Well,
They drop, but instead of dropping like toward the actors, they drop it down onto the audience almost, and they stop like it's like before it drops on them.
Cool.
Interesting.
And then
That's
it was
neat.
back up.
Interesting. Neat.
I'm learning. I'm learning all sorts of stuff today. This is fascinating.
So with that, we're gonna talk about a slight bummer, but me and Haley talked about it on an episode of her podcast. We're gonna talk about the sad passing of James Earl Jones, and we're gonna take a moment to be like, major bummer, and what a legend.
That's sad.
Well, let's preface this by saying we started to talk about James Earl Jones. We went right into other musicals,
And then we went
back
back into James Earl Jones. Always made it back onto the rails. I may take it off the rails, but I always get it right back on the rails. Eventually. We were very broad. I'm about to reduce him to 2 roles, but we tried to be much more broad than I've seen a lot of people be on the internet, which was to say that he had a very storied theater and film career,